Well, hey there, guys. I'm Axel Beast, and this is the Curiosity Shop, the ZeldaDungeon.net video mailbag where I answer your Zelda questions. Our first question comes from Sophia G. Which final boss do you think is the creepiest and the hardest? Well, I don't think that they're the same thing, but, tell me your answers in the comments. Which boss do you think is the creepiest, or the hardest, or the creepiest plus hardest all rolled into one, depending on what your answer is. But, as for me, I sort of have two answers for both. I have what is probably the correct one, and one that I also just want to throw in just because it is, in fact, kind of more personal for me. If that makes any sense. It'll make sense in a second. Basically, for creepiest, you gotta say Majora, because Majora is the creepy, cackling, shrieking, fleshy construct that grew out of him. It's messed up, okay? And it is an eerie battle because of the music. The Majora theme is just really eerie. And it's again, it's cackling, fleshy monstrosity. I mean, what am I gonna say about that? But additionally, I think that I also gotta throw in Maladus from Spirit Tracks, just because the whole scene at the end where he's talking about how his body is rejecting him and he's gonna destroy the world. It just has such creepy music, cool presentation. I don't know, it gave me a chill. It wasn't exactly creepy, but I know it was in that direction for me, and it gave me a chill, and that's not something that Majora ever did. I guess I thought Majora was cool at the time, so... as for the hardest, the correct answer is probably Dark Link, or Link's Shadow, or whatever, from The Adventure of Link, because, that's just the hardest game in general of the series, from what I hear, but I have not played it, so I can't say that for sure. For me, it's Demise. I mean, some people say he's easy, but, I don't know, I struggled like hell against him, and, honestly, when I fought him on hero mode, I had no hearts left, and I was just barely kept alive by a guardian potion, and I managed to beat him before it ran out, so it was like crazy. So he was my hardest. But tell me yours in the comments. Pelota asks, what do you think of the Wind Waker HD's graphics? I think that they look almost identical to the original games. I mean, do you really think that they should have spent their time remaking the Wind Waker when they could have done something awesome with another older title? P.S. The Wind Waker is my favorite. I'm just wondering why they went about remaking the game. Well, I think that, the graphics are a little, washed out because of all the bright colors, the bright, lighting and all the shininess and whatever, it washes out the colors. It's just something that happens when you go with that. And in essence, I don't think the game looks as colorful as the original The Wind Waker, and the colors don't seem as bold and whatnot. So I think it looks a little uglier compared to the original, and I missed the art presentation in the original game. Regarding it looking the same, yeah, it kind of definitely does. It does kind of beg the question of why they remade it if it was going to look the same. But then there's also the flip argument of you want it to look the same because it's the same game, and some people will be upset if it looked too different. So, including me. So, I don't know. It's a difficult balance. As for why they're remaking it, that actually is something they talked about. They basically are making it to practice with the Wii U and get a feel for it, which can make sense. It's a good thing to do. I've practiced my writing by doing fan fictions, so it's similar principle. Additionally, they also picked the Wind Waker specifically because they were testing a bunch of previous Zelda games in an HD style, and they thought the Wind Waker looked the best, and they did it. So yeah. Jay Cutdog asks, wait, I missed something. In the last mailbag, you mentioned something called the Tingle bottle. Well, what is it? And will it be like the tuner? Because when I first played the Wind Waker, I didn't have a Game Boy to use it. Well, yeah, the Tingle bottle is replacing the tuner completely, from what I can tell. The Tingle tuner, as far as we can see, is not going to be in the game at all, and instead you have the Tingle bottle, which, basically, you put a message in a bottle, and you just send it on the Miiverse, and someone else's game will get it. And then maybe 5 years later, on the shore, a bottle will wash up, and you'll read it. In a few years. No, I'm kidding. Probably, as you go through the game, you see messages left by other people. It seems adorable, I guess. I don't know. It doesn't sound that great, and definitely seems like a missed opportunity to get rid of the Tingle tuner. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting, I guess. Draco125 asks, if there is DLC for A Link Between Worlds, what would your opinion be on a local/online Four Swords style multiplayer add-on? Well, I don't know about if they would need to make an add-on to an existing game to do something like that. I'd think if they were going to make something like Four Swords, which has traditionally been its own game. Well, okay, so it was a component of another game. If they wanted to do a Four Swords function again, I'd be all for it. I think Four Swords is great. I think it was a really interesting experiment, and it ended up being a very cool thing. Sort of like a predecessor to their whole cooperative / competitive multiplayer thing that you see in New Super Mario Brothers, and that Nintendo just generally seems to have this big fascination with. I think it was very fun, and I'd love to see something like that again. If it was DLC as an add-on for a game that comes out, maybe. But I don't think A Link Between Worlds is going to have DLC. They've talked about the DLC thing, but they talked about it like, well, they're thinking about it. And I think A Link Between Worlds is probably a little too far along in the development since it's coming out this year for them to be implementing that yet. Ranger Linkseye asks, what type of transportation will there be in A Link Between Worlds, if any, and who do you think will revive Ganon? As for transportation, Link's boots and his legs. As for who will revive Ganon, someone. Will Phillips asks, I have a question that has bugged me since E3. In the images for the new Super Smash Bros. Game, Link resembles both the Wii U demo Link and Twilight Princess Link. Do you think it's conflicting having Skyward Sword stages with this Link? I personally think it is, because in Brawl they had Twilight Princess Link and Zelda and Ganondorf and stages to match, and having a Link not matching the style will feel weird and when I fight there. Well, even in Brawl you had Toon Link with his little Toon Link stage. The Great Sea, I think? The Pirate Ship? Whatever it was called. So, you know, you still had clashing styles of serious Grim Link fighting on the cartoon stage, and cartoony Link fighting on the frickin' Bridge of Elden with King Bolden coming by and dropping him into the canyon. So, I don't know. I don't think it's an issue, and it's just something that you've seen in the Smash Brothers series in general. And, you know, you have the Spirit Train stage. You know, it doesn't bug me that much. I think it's interesting having, like, a new design that's not quite any design we've seen yet. I mean, it's not quite Twilight Princess Link. The colors are different. The hair is different, you know? So, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be an issue in how it matches up with the levels. I mean, certainly it's not the same design, although the colors are similar. But I still think he'll look fine on the Skyward Sword stage, so it doesn't bother me, at least. Junston Sharp asks, it really annoys me when people say the Wind Waker is cartoon-like. It's not. To me, it's always been more of an anime-styled game, and to be more specific, chibi anime. They're all way too cute to be a cartoon, and I highly doubt Nintendo intended it to be cartoon-like. They are Japanese, and anime is very popular there, unlike cartoons. Anybody that says it's cartoon-like is very wrong, and it baffles me where they got this statement. Do you think Wind Waker is cartoony? Do you think they actually would have thought to make it seem cartoon-like in the slightest? Well, honestly, anime is cartoons. I mean, cartoons are animation. I mean, it's a bit of a misnomer now because cartoons were originally, like, cartoon, like, comedy, you know? But then it just became animation in general because you have, like, mature cartoons like, say, The Simpsons or Futurama or something. But, honestly, basically, anime is to Japan what cartoons are here. It is cartoons. It's Japanese cartoons. That's what anime is. And to prove the point, a lot of anime took inspiration originally from frickin' Disney, which was the original pioneer, almost, of American cartoons, at least in some ways. So, you know, it is a cartoon, even if it's anime-like. And certainly there are Japanese influences in the Zelda series, that's clear. I'd say the more stereotypical anime styles are seen in things like Skyward Sword and Ocarina of Time, and yeah, there's still an anime influence in Wind Waker, too. That said, yes, actually, in fact, Nintendo did intend it to be cartoon-like. That was, in fact, their wording that they used in interviews prior to the Wind Waker. It is supposed to be a cartoon style. They designed the game to feel like a cartoon with the animations and the exaggerated enemies and whatnot. This was their whole point, and they've stated it with pretty much those words. So, yeah, it is a cartoon game, and that was what they intended. And just because it's anime-like doesn't mean it's not a cartoon. Anime is a cartoon. Yeah. Ganon56 asks, how tall is Demise and Ganondorf in beast form and in human form? Pretty darn. Matt Silver asks, do you think that Fi from Skyward Sword looks like blue chocolate? I think so. Certainly, Fi does. Her head does indeed look like a blue-colored Hershey's chocolate kiss. And certainly, I do indeed want to kiss her. And certainly, this is the most awkward thing I have ever said in the mailbag, because, in fact, Fi is some kind of construct and acts like a robot. And I still don't feel any shame for this. Alright, last question, and this is kind of intense, because this guy, Otaku32, finally, isn't this the, wait, okay, I just checked, Otaku32 did, in fact, like 2 mailbags ago, almost get all the sounds and the quotes right on a mailbag, but he missed just one, but I still answered the question anyway, because it was good, and then this time, he in fact got everything correct, all the sounds, all the music, everything, so props to Otaku32, because he's the first person to do that, but he asks, in your opinion, do you believe that Princess Zelda has any affection for Link? In my opinion, she's really just being nice to him, with the exception of Skyward Sword, in which they were close friends. But a lot of people online think that she loves him. Do you believe this to be true yourself? Actually, honestly, I'm one of those crazy lunatics who used to think, or even sometimes still a little bit, thinks that, you know, they were siblings. Particularly, this is built on Ocarina of Time and Link to the Past. You know, Link's uncle in Link to the Past says Zelda is your, and then dies or goes unconscious or whatever the explanation there is. But that's edited or retconned to say she's your destiny, so nothing there. And in Ocarina of Time, it just seemed like it fit with Link's parents, like, running from Hyrule. It just seemed like it would have been cool if they were, like, secret siblings or whatever. But there's no, like, proof of this, and honestly, I'm not sure. Certainly in Ocarina of Time, you could also still, like, look at their interactions and say they have affection for each other. I think there's certain games in which there's clearly a platonic relationship between the two. I think Twilight Princess is a great example of this. It's clear that Link thinks she's freaking gorgeous, based on his reactions and Midna rolling her eyes at his response, but it's clear that she has no return interest in him. They're just working together. Whereas in other games, Skyward Sword is a perfect example, because it's not just that they're close friends. I mean, honestly, when I look at Skyward Sword, it looks like Zelda is incredibly into Link. I mean, really. I mean, Link's reaction is completely dependent on your options and dialogue options and whatnot, but Zelda really looks like she's into Link. So, I don't know. I really think that in Skyward Sword, they're supposed to be romantically interested, and in other games, they're close, like Minish Cap, and you can kind of interpret it that way. It just depends on game to game. Certain ones, Skyward Sword is definitely the most obvious, definitely romantic interest there, but in other ones there isn't. I don't know. Vague answer. Alright guys, that's it for this time. Be sure to send your questions to the contact information in the description, and I'll see you guys later.